Are you out of your tree?
Well, I'm sorry, but she made me furious and I had to get it off my chest.
It's been nearly 30 years since the world said goodbye to Elizabeth Montgomery, the magical star of Bewitched, who captured the hearts of millions. But even decades after her passing, rumors surrounding her life and legacy continue to swirl. Now, her children have stepped forward to confirm the truth behind these whispers, revealing surprising details about her private life, struggles, and the lasting impact of her career. What secrets did this Hollywood icon leave behind? Elizabeth Montgomery's successful career and activism were tragically cut short by her battle with colon cancer. Initially dismissing her symptoms as flu-like, Elizabeth continued working during the filming of Deadline for Murder, from the files of Edna Buchanan in March 1995. However, when her illness was finally diagnosed, the cancer had already metastasized to her liver, leaving no room for medical intervention. Faced with a terminal diagnosis, Elizabeth made the decision to spend her remaining days at home in Beverly Hills, surrounded by those closest to her, including her husband Robert Foxworth. Her decision to avoid prolonged hospital treatment reflected her preference for a quiet and private goodbye, a stark contrast to her public life. By May 18, 1995, just 8 weeks after her diagnosis, Elizabeth passed away in her sleep at the age of 62. Her death came as a shock to fans and colleagues alike, largely because she had kept her illness private during her final months. This silence spoke to her lifelong tendency to shield her personal struggles from the public eye, a trait that defined her both in life and death. In the days following her passing, close family and friends gathered to honor her memory during a private memorial service at the Cannon Theater in Beverly Hills. Attendees included her husband, who read sympathy cards from grieving fans, and her longtime friends and colleagues who shared stories of her warmth and resilience. Herbie Hancock performed at the service, a meditative tribute to her life filled with both grace and determination. Elizabeth was cremated, with her family choosing to keep further details surrounding her burial private. One notable piece of her legacy, however, became the family home in Paterson, New York. The property, long a quiet retreat for Elizabeth and her loved ones, would later be sold and become part of Wonder Lake State Park, preserving a piece of her life in a meaningful and lasting way. Her journey to success was anything but smooth, especially when it came to her relationship with her father, Robert Montgomery. Robert, a highly regarded actor and director, held traditional views that conflicted with Elizabeth's ambitions. Despite his Hollywood stature, he was critical of her decision to pursue acting. Her father's disapproval created tension that followed them throughout their lives. According to Herbie J. Pilato, a producer and biographer who authored Twitch Upon a Star, the bewitched life and career of Elizabeth Montgomery, Robert wanted his daughter to lead a conventional life and settle down, rather than go into the entertainment industry. This conflict of interests added a layer of strain that ruled their personal and professional relationship. Even when Robert introduced Elizabeth to the screen through his show Robert Montgomery Presents, his encouragement came with sharp scrutiny. Pilato noted that Robert remained a harsh critic, often sending Elizabeth detailed notes, critiquing her performances. Instead of constructive advice, these remarks reflected his skepticism regarding her abilities and choices. Their rocky dynamic also spilled over into personal disagreements, including mismatched political ideologies and Elizabeth's struggle to forgive him for divorcing her mother, Elizabeth Allen. The divorce was a pivotal moment that shaped Elizabeth's views on relationships and family, and remained a source of pain for her. Determined to carve her own path, Elizabeth made a bold move in her early 20s when she relocated to Manhattan and enrolled at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. This decision marked a turning point in her defiance of her father's expectations. It was clear that, despite his disapproval, she was intent on reclaiming her identity and pursuing her passion for acting. The tension with her father also bled into her personal life. Elizabeth's relationships often reflected her attempts to rebel against Robert's conservative values. This was most evident when she married actor Gig Young, a man twice her age with a history of personal troubles. Her marriage to Young proved to be volatile and short-lived, but it remained a clear signal of Elizabeth stepping out of her father's shadow and making her own, even flawed, choices. This complicated father-daughter relationship shaped much of Elizabeth's personal and professional life. While it's undeniable that Robert played a role in introducing her to the world of acting, his lack of approval may have fueled her determination to prove herself. However, it also cast a shadow over many aspects of her life, leading to unresolved tensions that lingered until his death. Elizabeth Montgomery's career might have shone brightly in the public eye, but it was far from free of challenges and contradictions. Long before she became a household name with her role in Bewitched, Elizabeth spent years navigating the complexities of Hollywood, often stepping outside conventional expectations for women in the industry. However, her success on screen came at the cost of personal turmoil and a desire to break free from the image that fame had built around her. After gaining traction on television and Broadway in the 1950s, Elizabeth was determined to establish herself on her own terms. Her commitment to her craft earned her critical acclaim, even before her breakout role. However, the success of Bewitched in 1964 elevated her to a level of stardom that proved both a blessing and a limitation. According to Herbie J. Pilato in Twitch Upon a Star, the show defined her career in ways she both appreciated and struggled against. Despite enjoying the massive popularity the sitcom brought her, Elizabeth often felt boxed in by the role of Samantha Stevens, a charming witch married to a mortal man. For 8 years, Bewitched dominated America's living rooms, becoming one of the most successful sitcoms of its time. But behind the scenes, the show was as much about creative control as it was about stardom. Montgomery's then husband, William Asher, was a key figure in the show's production, and their dynamic would greatly influence both the tone of the series and decisions surrounding her career. While the couple collaborated well professionally, Elizabeth's growing dissatisfaction with being typecast as a sitcom actress brewed tension in their personal lives. Her desire to take on more diverse and challenging roles clashed with public and industry expectations to continue as the beloved Samantha, even after Bewitched ended in 1972. It became difficult for Elizabeth to escape the shadow of her iconic character. Producers were reluctant to see her outside of comedic or light roles, leaving her to prove herself all over again. Her decision to work in darker, more serious television movies in the years that followed was a deliberate effort to redefine herself. Films such as A Case of Rape in 1974 and The Legend of Lizzie Borden in 1975 shocked audiences, but also demonstrated her versatility. These projects offered Montgomery an outlet to explore far more complex and gritty subject matter. Shaking off the veneer of suburban perfection audiences had come to associate with her. Pilato also highlighted how Elizabeth valued autonomy in her later career. She enjoyed those more dramatic roles because they allowed her to show the depth of her abilities, which she always feared people underestimated after Bewitched. These darker performances earned her critical acclaim and solidified her place in television history as more than just a comedic star. However, Elizabeth's commitment to her work often came at a personal cost. Her marriage to William Asher suffered from the pressures of their professional and personal lives clashing. Later in her career, her affair with Bewitched director Richard Michaels led not only to her third divorce, but also contributed to the end of the series, whose final season reflected the turbulence behind the scenes. Elizabeth's career was defined by resilience and adaptability. Even as she frequently faced the challenge of being underestimated or typecast, while Bewitched remains her claim to fame, her later work proved her ability to shed that image and showcase the dramatic depth she had always possessed. This duality, a career that both celebrated and confined her, remains a hallmark of her legacy,